So my name is Michael Tsai, and thank you again for showing up this early. My fellow speakers and I will make your time worthwhile. Kids market is often an underserved market and also misunderstood. A lot of people think there's no money in it. Let me tell you, there is money in it, and I actually personally have a friend in China who graduated 5 years ago, and he had an idea and made a nail salon game on iPad and iPhone, and now 5 years later, he's got 200 people working for him, and they just crossed 400 million downloads yesterday. So he still didn't know how he was able to make that much money, but it happened. So let me tell you, there is a lot of money in the kids market for sure. So before I get into the data and insight, let me do a quick intro of who we are. We are a boutique firm based in Los Angeles, California, and this year we're actually celebrating our 10th anniversary. And I primarily run the video game practice, but we also do a lot of research on movies as well as advertising. In terms of video games, we work with almost all the tier 1 game publishers in the world, like EA, Activision, Blizzard, Ubisoft, Weeby, 2K, you name it. We also work with free-to-play and mobile game companies like Riot, Kabam, Gree, Tencent. So we're quite international in terms of our focus, and we've done research around the world. We've been to more than 14, 15 different markets, doing on-the-ground focus groups and ethnographic interviews, and we also have run surveys in more than 15 countries as well. And although in the past our primary focus was the console and PC market, but a few years ago, while we were still working on Assassin's Creed, Call of Duty, a lot of these core games, some of our clients, including Warner Brothers, Sony, and even Activision with Skylanders, they were starting to pay more attention to the kids market. So they were asking me, Michael, can you guys actually do more research in the kids area and provide us with more insights? So 5 years ago, we started working on this syndicated research called GameByte Kids, and we've been doing these surveys over the last 4 or 5 years, and every year we actually survey children in 10 different markets. And in those different markets, we primarily focus on their play behavior, their gaming behavior, as well as interaction between children and their parents when they make purchase decisions and those kind of things. So what I'm presenting today is data we collected in 2015. Right now, my team is actually busy working in the office, kind of trying to finalize the questionnaire for the 2016 wave. We'll be launching that in the next few months as well, and in a few months we'll have new data. So the survey actually covers almost all the different aspects of gaming, including the traditional console PC games, as well as the emerging phenomena like free-to-play mobile games and even toys to life as well. And I'm not going to cover everything today, so my main focus is on mobile gaming because I assume most of you are interested in that area. But before I do that, I'll also provide a little bit of higher overview of what the kids are doing, how much money they're spending on different leisure activities and timeshare and those kind of things. And Minecraft, I'll definitely spend some time on that as well, since everybody's always interested in Minecraft and its success story. So let's first take a quick look at the money they spend on play and games. Overall, the kids in the US and UK, they spend more money on video games, toys, other types of entertainment, including movies. In the US, just over 6 months, this number actually included the holiday season of 2014 as well. They spent $460 on these different things, and UK, it's $565, partially because everything is a little bit more expensive than the US, and once you translate into US dollars, it's more. And the German and French kids, they tend to spend a little bit less. And I'll get into some of the regional differences a little bit more later, but overall, the kids in Germany and France, there are still more kids than the kids in the US and UK who are spending more on games and entertainment overall, and also spending more on mature kind of games like Call of Duty and World of Warcraft as well, as compared to the kids in Germany and France. And if you break it down, the numbers are very interesting as well. In the US and UK, the percentage captured by video games is almost a third out of everything they spend on toys, entertainment, branded merchandise, as well as movies and books and music as well. So video games definitely capture a huge wallet share among kids in all parts of the world. Let's take a kind of more detailed look at the gaming expenditure. As you saw here, for the US, it's $143. So we're breaking down into different types of gaming spend. Console still captures a fairly big chunk of video game spending because it's expensive. I mean, one video game will cost you $60 in the US. However, a lot of these other business models are definitely starting to grow and capture more wallet share of children's gaming spend. For instance, if you take a look at mobile games, buying full mobile games, that's still a thing, especially for children. And buying in-game items for a mobile game, each actually captured about $9 over 6 months in the US. So roughly $1.50 for each business model per month. And again, you can see that internationally in Germany and France, overall the spending is a little bit less, especially on console gaming. And the other thing, it's pretty consistent across all the research we do, including focus groups in those markets, is handheld gaming is still a thing in France. The French people and kids, they just love Nintendo and the DS. And let's take a look at timeshare. So we saw wallet share already, and this is the amount of time they're spending on gaming behavior and how it breaks down by platform. In the US and UK, again, kind of corresponding to the wallet share, they're also spending more time on gaming activities as well, roughly 11 hours per week. And consoles still capture a big chunk of it, especially, again, in the US and UK. And however, if you look at mobile devices, that's more than a third of time spent on gaming as well. And in some of the markets, the iPhone and iPads are still leading slightly, but internationally, like in Germany and France, it's the Android devices that's actually capturing a bigger chunk of timeshare. So we also ask an open-ended question every time we do this survey. Actually, a couple of them, and this one actually came from one of the open-ended questions. So we essentially just ask the kids, when you think about after school, you want to play something, just playing in general, what are the 3 brands that actually come to mind right away? This is really interesting. I'm only showing the data for these 4 countries here, but we also have the same data for the other 6 countries we surveyed, including China, South Korea, Japan, where there's actually even more difference, as well as Brazil, Russia, and Australia. So in these 4 countries, you can see the consoles are still quite important. They tend to be the top of mind play brand for a lot of the kids. Immediately after following those 3 console brands, it's Lego. And in Germany, the Lego brand is actually taking a lead, and it's actually the top of mind brand before those console brands. And of course, Playmobil, which is more of a local brand, also captures a lot of mind share as well. And Minecraft has emerged as a top of mind brand over the last few years. Even like 2 years ago, Minecraft didn't even show up on this chart. But now in some of the markets, it's ranked as number 5 before Disney and Barbie. So that's the power of Minecraft. We also asked them the reason to play, and you can see some interesting regional differences. The first thing you see is the US gamers, it doesn't matter how old, they typically exaggerate their rating. So whenever you ask a rating question, they always have higher rating numbers than all the other countries, except for Brazil and China, where the consumers tend to exaggerate their answers even more. But that's the first thing you notice here. It doesn't matter which motivator we're looking at, the US is always leading. But aside from that, fun, it's always important, followed by creating things, playing with friends, social reasons, exploring, playing with known characters, improving their skills and learning things. And not surprisingly, improving skills and learning things tend to rank much lower than all the other motivators. And the other thing you notice is the regional differences, like the German kids, they actually value playing with friends a little bit more than the kids in the UK and France. We actually see that in a lot of focus groups as well. For some reason, social is actually a bigger factor for German gamers than some of the other countries. It doesn't matter whether it's kids or older, more mature gamers. The other thing that's interesting is if you think of Minecraft, it actually fulfills all these different motivations for kids because it's a sandbox, it's an open platform. It's not one game. It actually has all the different mods, and the kids can actually go in there and create things and destroy things and fight with their friends. My daughter in particular actually started playing 3 years ago when she was 8, and for the first year she was only creating things, pretty museums and places she's visited, but now over the last year she's been playing Capture the Flag, Hunger Games, and every time she kills others in the game, she will come back and tell me, "Daddy, I was the last one standing." So it does evolve. I mean, that's one thing we've been noticing, like observing these Minecraft gamers, especially like female gamers. They do kind of evolve in their gaming motivation and behavior. And some of the more hardcore gaming brands are actually very interested in tapping into that. And we actually have done research for the more hardcore gaming companies trying to potentially migrate some of the Minecraft kids as they grow up and aspire for more hardcore gameplay. Let's go into mobile gaming. So this slide shows you the popular mobile game genres in these 4 different markets. Not surprisingly, puzzle games is huge. Matching puzzle, physics puzzle, so whether it's Bejeweled, Candy Crush, or Angry Birds, those are still huge, followed by render games and world building in certain markets like the US, Life Pet in the UK, racing games in Germany, and farm city management games in France, UK, and US. So a lot of those games are very popular across the world. And let's take a deeper look at the titles. So these are actually the top 5 mobile titles ever and currently played in these different markets. Angry Birds, Candy Crush Saga, those are still big, especially from the perspective of ever played. However, if you look at currently playing, that definitely has declined tremendously over the last few years. Angry Birds, only 1/3 of kids who ever played that title was still playing last year. And for Candy Crush, the percentage was even lower. Minecraft Pocket Edition, or PE, as you can see, is growing in popularity as well because it's portable, it's on the go, it complements the Minecraft behavior on PC and console. And also the engagement level is off the chart. Of the 25% of kids in the US who ever played Minecraft PE, 17% of them are still playing. That's the overwhelming majority. And the other thing that's interesting is in Germany and France, Clash of Clans is pretty popular among kids as well. The kids in those markets, they tend to like those kind of empire building titles for some reason. Let's take a look at the frequency and session duration of playing these mobile games. The first thing you notice is for both mobile phones and tablets, the average session length is already where a typical TV episode is. So they do engage for quite a bit of time whenever they start playing. And also, not surprisingly, the duration and the frequency of playing mobile tablet games or mobile games on a tablet are higher than the duration and frequency for mobile phones, because it's got a larger screen and the kids tend to own the tablets themselves versus the smartphones. So where do they find information about these mobile games that they play? Word of mouth is huge, whether it's friends or family, primarily friends, because most of the parents don't really know as well as their friends. So that's why Minecraft grew so huge with very little marketing before they were acquired by Microsoft. And also those ranked lists and featured games at app stores, they work very well as well, especially for kids of this age, 6 to 12-year-olds. I forgot to mention that. This survey only focuses on 6 to 12-year-olds, not younger, not older. And the other thing you notice is TV ads still work pretty well in certain markets like France. 10% of the kids are still getting information on these apps through TV advertising. And the reason ranked list and feature games are very important in all these markets is because a lot of these kids, whenever they have downtime, in addition to playing games, they are also searching for new content as well. Like in the US, for instance, 50% of the kids actually search for new apps on a weekly basis. Who makes the decision to download a certain mobile game? Primarily, it's the kids. In the US and UK in particular, the majority of the decisions are made by the kids or split between the parents and the kids. However, as I mentioned, in Germany and France, typically the parents are doing a slightly better job as being parents. They actually pay more attention to what their kids are doing and actually sometimes help make that decision. So let's look at in-app purchases, because that's still a business model for kids, especially if you implement it in a right way. Obviously, it was under fire for the last few years with all the lawsuits and everything, but for certain games, it still works. And roughly 1/4 of all the gaming kids in the US who are playing mobile games, they actually have spent money on in-app purchases in the past 6 months, and it's slightly skewing towards male gamers in the US, but in some of the other markets, like France, it's a little bit more even between female and males. And also you notice for in-app purchases, Germany and France actually monetize not as well as the UK and the US. Again, it's partially because of the stronger influence of their parents. So in terms of the dynamics for in-app purchases, a lot of the times it's the nagging factor. The kids will go to their parents and ask them, can I get these berries for my farm? And can I make some in-game purchases for this monster game and things like that? And then if you are a parent, you know sometimes you have to give in once in a while, right? So that's a primary driver for in-app purchases. And there are a variety of reasons why kids want to spend on these games, and it varies quite a bit by country. For instance, sales is a huge factor in Germany, but not as much in France. And getting a special item is super important in the US because all the US kids were brought up as you are the superstar and you are something special, not as much in some of the other markets. And also, when I can't play the rest of the game unless I buy it, so that VIP rope, they can play a certain percentage of the content for free, but if they want to engage more, then they need to spend money. Those are all very effective drivers for in-game purchases. Payment method. So because the parents have become a lot more cautious about these in-app purchases over the last few years, so the majority of the parents actually ask their children to ask them every single time if they want to make a purchase, because some of them have been bitten by the large bill that just miraculously occurred on their credit cards. But now they're becoming a lot more cautious, especially again in France and Germany. In France, 96% of the parents actually ask their kids to come to them before they try to make any in-game purchases. And also the majority of the kids, this is a good thing, they don't know their parents' credit card information, especially in France. 77% of the children, they don't know their credit card information and also ask their parents to make purchase every single time. Prepaid card is still a viable tool in some of the markets, especially in Germany. A lot of the kids are getting their monthly allowances, especially in the US and UK. Again, the kids tend to be a little bit more spoiled, and they actually, number one, a larger percentage of them get allowances, and number two, they also get a larger amount. And in the US, for instance, the kids are getting almost $40 a month for a gaming allowance among the people who are getting gaming allowance. So I'm going to spend the last couple of minutes on Minecraft. What was amazing is as much success Minecraft has been having, still not all the kids actually know about the game. Again, this was last year, and I'm pretty sure this year the percentages will be higher. But last year, only about 50% of the kids are actually aware and are familiar with Minecraft. And you still have 1/2 of the kids in the US and almost 2/3 of the kids in France and Germany who are actually not very familiar with the game. And gaming hours, it's huge. Among the kids who are playing Minecraft, on average, on a weekly basis, they're spending 4 to 5 hours just playing that one single game. And if you actually average out to all kids, including the kids who are not playing Minecraft even, among all the gaming kids, Minecraft actually captures 15% of the gaming time in the US. So I'm going to end my presentation on this slide. Minecraft is not just a PC game and a mobile game. It's also very popular on console as well. As you can see, in all 4 markets, it was actually the top console game in 2015, and also huge growth as compared to 2014. As you can see in the US, it grew by 10 percentage points. That's not 10%. That's from 19% in 2014 to 29% in 2015, so huge growth. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the kids in the US and UK, they tend to aspire for more mature games. So you see that Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto, and these games actually showing up on the top console game list in those 2 markets, but not in France and Germany. So that concludes my portion of the presentation.
How many games are played on a mobile device in that session time?
It's a great question, because on average, I think it's 2 to 3. So you do have kids who are engaging in these more longer session games like Minecraft, and in that case, they might be playing just one, but you also have kids who are playing multiple, and when their farm is building, they switch to the singing monster game, and then, because a lot of these games try to monetize on waiting time, and because the kids are not really allowed to spend money and they can't just go to their parents every other minute to ask for money, so they tend to just play one game and wait and then switch to another game so they can have some fun and not spending the money.
Yeah, there's some great data there. But I'm wondering, when you're taking a look at some of the revenue from those games, when I was seeing the top games, there weren't really many in there that were specific games to kids. They were games like Candy Crush and Angry Birds and these sorts of things. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering how that kind of conflicts the revenue data that you're getting from it, and if you have anything in the future where you're just going to be able to say, for games that are specifically aimed at kids, this is the kind of revenue that we're seeing from these games, because otherwise it makes it look maybe bigger than what it is?
It's a great point. The thing is, these games are hugely popular. So whenever we just show a ranking chart, all the kids-specific games, except for Minecraft, they don't show up. But we do capture a very long list of game apps. The thing is, we can't really project revenue because we can tell what percentage of kids are playing those games in each market. But once you look at sample size, it's too small to actually project revenue. But we do have the data for a lot of other gaming apps specifically targeting kids as well.
It was actually the same. How would a more indie developer, or how did your friend come up to 400 million? Because it's actually interesting to have specific, to see what you can do with specific children's apps. And the difficulty is there reaching out and targeting that market.
Yeah, it's a great point. The caveat is this product is a syndicated product, and it's designed to reach kind of a large audience. And we have done research projects where we're targeting specific games that are designed for kids. That's when we'll have a lot more insight on those smaller titles. But because we need to sell this piece of research as well, so we can't really just focus on those kids' apps.
One more question for me. For how many years are you conducting these researches?
We've been doing this for the last 4 years, and as I mentioned, my team is actually working on finalizing the 2016 questionnaire, and we're actually going to start fielding in about 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Michael Tsai.